Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, friends. I am super excited for this first episode of October 2022. You guys all know how much I love Halloween, or at least you do if you've been following the show. So I've invited back a few guests, plus one more I'm really excited about, to talk to you about a special event they have going on in Omaha, Nebraska in October. Plus, it's a great excuse to get together with some friends and talk about the most wonderful time of the year, Halloween. You think I'd say Christmas? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Caught on the Mic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of Caught on the Mic. Today is a very special episode. We are going to be talking about a special event taking place at the Benson Theater in Omaha, Nebraska on Saturday, October 8th, 2022. Historic, haunted, Heartland, being put together by my friend Brian Corey from Necronomicast. In this episode, I have guests John E.L. Tenney. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well. Good to be here.
Thanks for being here. Johnny Hauser, who you guys might recognize from episode 2 of Caught on the Mic. How are you, Johnny?
Living the dream. How are you, buddy?
Good, good. My friend Brian Corey from Necronomicast.
Mike, what a pleasure to be on your show once again. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's several second-time guests all in one shot. And last but not least, fighting through the dragon that is audio difficulties, Jamie Nestroyl. How are you, Jamie?
Just another day in paradise.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this event. Brian, I'm going to kind of go to you first. When did this concept come together?
Mike, thanks. And thanks for the support, reaching out and having us all on your show. This is going to be great. Well, I really was eager to kind of get back into life and live events and doing things out in public after COVID. I mean, we're still in the midst of it. I don't mean to sound like it's in the rearview mirror, but you know what I mean? Like, we got to kind of go out and test the water and do some things. And I really wanted to do something fun in October time. I know you love Halloween. I wanted to do something with incredible speakers, people that I trust, like that are really good, and put on a really good live show for the people of Omaha and anybody else that wants to cruise around.
Fantastic. Now, this is being held at the Benson Theater, which is actually a renovated theater. It was a theater one time before. Now, Jamie, you've been on my show and we've talked about your haunted tours that you give. Didn't you just add a Benson component to your tours recently?
Yeah, I actually live in downtown Benson, so I've been trying to do a Benson ghost tour, and COVID happened, and they just started this summer. So, yep, walk by the Benson Theater tomorrow night.
Sweet, sweet. John Tenney, what is it about the Midwest that you recognize as being such a paranormal hotbed that makes this such a good place to host an event like this and to discuss these things?
I mean, first of all, have you seen the weirdos that live in the Midwest?
Yes.
I mean, that right off the bat. No, I mean, the thing that I'm excited about is I haven't been to Nebraska, I think, in like 25 years. I think the last time I went there was to investigate, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, like a lake monster that like historically is known. I think it's like the Walgren Lake Monster or something like that.
Correct.
But, yeah, I'm trying to pull these old memories from 25 years ago, but yeah, I mean, we had a discussion earlier about what the Midwest even is, but you know, when you have any place in the United States, I mean, I just had this conversation. I just came back from a UFO convention, and someone asked me about the hot spots in the United States, like paranormal hot spots. I really don't think there are hotspots. I think that every place is haunted, but the recognition that every place is haunted or has paranormal stuff really falls by the waysides because one or two places get really well known. You can go in any town in America, and if you sit in the right bar or the right diner and you talk to the right people, you find out how screwed up that place is, like ghost stories and all of the urban legends and the monsters that people have seen. And I really feel like there are parts of the Midwest that get forgotten about. Like, again, like 25 years ago, I was going there. I'm surrounded by lakes. I'm in Detroit. I'm in Michigan, right? And I went to Nebraska to look for a lake monster. Like, it's just one of those things where I'm glad to see it finally getting recognition and getting some kind of convention put on there so that we can talk about how weird that area is.
For sure, for sure. And Johnny Hauser, we have talked about this at great length on your episode of my podcast. We talked about Villisca. Let's kind of retrace that a little bit, because I asked you that question specifically about Villisca Ax Murder House and Malvern Manor. What is some of your takes on the subject?
And I agree with Tenney quite a bit with that. But I also think that, the smaller rural places, there's not a lot to do. So a lot of storytelling still happens of, grandpa saw this ghost when he was walking down the dirt road, and it's a lot smaller pace, we're not as busy as the city, I suppose. But Villisca comes from Waliska, which was Meskwaki for evil spirit. I mean, then it turned into from Waliska to Villisca. It makes me wonder, there's a lot of love in the land here, a lot of 5th, 6th, 7th generation farmers whose great grandparents lived in the same house and died in that house. And, I think there's a lot of family ties to the land in general.
So this question would be for all of you, because you all have different areas of expertise in this, but is it because the season we're going into and people's sense of nostalgia and wanting to explore haunted attractions or the paranormal, why that activity kicks up? Or is there something actually to, like, there is an increase of paranormal activity about in this time of year?
Oh, everybody's waiting for an answer. I'll go first. I think the season is kind of the same concept as I was saying, like, it's a hot spot. Like, this season has become a hot spot. You can go back and even just in American history, and 150 years ago, Halloween wasn't celebrated the way it was celebrated. We celebrate it now. And if you look at cultures around the world, like, there's always, whether it's the spring equinox or the summer equinox, these are times when people have always been like, something strange is happening, the weather is changing, the environment is changing. But Halloween was the one that caught on, right? So, and there was already this All Souls Day where you had, Judeo-Catholic belief systems like intertwining with the weirdness of witches and Mabon and all of the autumnal changes. And so it just, plus it's got good, like logos and stuff. It's got good novelty to it. Like carved up pumpkins and gourds are scary looking, and like it makes for a good selling point. But again, I don't think that this time of year is any different than any other time of year.
What's your take?
I will chip in with my 2 cents. I totally agree that most people attribute September 1st to October 31st as spooky season, and they don't realize that people like us exist, that spooky is year round, like 365 days a year. I have a shining room, not a dining room. But people do, as soon as like they throw a pumpkin on their front porch, there's like, dress up like a ghost. It's spooky season. On my tours, I cannot say that there is any more paranormal activity during this time of the year than there is in June. It's getting darker earlier, and the leaves are changing, and it's getting a little crisp out, and people are open to having that experience more because they think it's spooky season.
If I can jump on that too, Jamie, I agree completely. And I think if we get into a more kind of occult look and kind of mystical look at how Halloween is understood, I mean, if you talk about like the influence we can have over the environment, now that Halloween is what it is, every year for about a month, you have everyone in the world thinking about ghosts and haunted houses. So, of course, like, how is that even possible? Are we manifesting this spooky season that we have all come to recognize now?
I mean, it works for me. I stay very busy during this season. But, yeah, I mean, and the veil, most people tend to think that the veil did just begun to thin. And I'm a believer in those sort of things. But I also think, gosh, if you're really trying hard to have a paranormal experience, I don't know, can you manifest it? It's quite possible. You can really scare the bejesus out of yourself walking to the fridge in the middle of the night if you just watched Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and if everybody is so concerned with, like, this is the time of ghosts because it's autumn and everything is dying, it's like, oh, then would be the worst time to contact ghosts because they're dying. Like, if you wanted to contact ghosts, it would happen in spring, right? When all the things that died are coming back to life. Like, that seems like that should be way fucking spookier. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Sorry.
No, please do. Please do.
Okay.
What's your take, Brian?
Well, I just like sitting back and listening to these great explanations and these great, these great thoughts. But, what's great about this season and what I'm trying to do at the event is bring it to the masses. Earlier we said that, look at us, we're a bunch of weirdos and there's some weirdos in the Midwest, but what a great way to bring people into the fold and to bring up these topics of the afterlife, talking about psychic ability, talking about monsters and ghosts and even space aliens, all this stuff. What a great opportunity we have to open up the doors in October and have these stories being shared, and the little farmhouse down in Villisca. Well, you're going to hear about it. You're going to hear about this place in Benson. You're going to hear about this, sorry, John, this diner that didn't exist that I ate at. You're going to, maybe, but you're going to hear these stories and you're going to laugh and you're going to get a little spooked out. And I hope that when people go to something like this, whether it's this event or other events that I see advertised all over, is that the people that are drugged to the event, brought to the event by the person in their life that's into the paranormal, I hope that person, it sparks something in them to open their eyes to this phenomenon. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. That's such a great way to encapsulate that and help put over the event that everybody should be going to.
Come on.
That was awesome. What was funny is, Tenney was talking about the iconography of Halloween. It's like going and buying an Iron Maiden record because there's Eddie T on the cover. Like, it's like, oh man, this is the shit. I'm going to listen to it because it's got a badass album cover. So that's a really good point as far as why people become more interested in these types of events and paranormal activity during this time of year. One thing I would kind of take a step back on is Johnny Hauser and I had a conversation about activity increasing in Villisca because people might have been, the more people had interest in the place, how that might have been inviting more activity. Do you want to go into that, Johnny, since I'm stumbling over my words and I sound like a fucking idiot?
I've had the opportunity to be at this location for like 20 years at this point, and it's just mind-boggling thinking of that. And I've really used it as, like, I hate to say the word lab because what happened there is terrible, but I've done so many overnights alone in that house. I've looked for patterns in birthdays, anniversaries, moon phases, storms, the eclipse, anything. And I found no real rhyme or reason to when it happens, but I have noticed the influx of people. Of course, it stirs things up. It gets things supercharged. And you get all these people coming in and all this thought and all this intent, and it just fuels these places, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. And Brian, you were going to chime in with a point there just a second ago.
Well, I kind of got lost. Johnny just made a huge point there, but I was just talking about, like, bringing people that aren't familiar with all these things. Like, I made a joke about people being brought or drugged to the event. Like my wife, we had a fantastic experience at a Strange Escapes, which is a kind of a boutique paranormal convention or a gathering, a vacation kind of thing that's held over the weekends. And it's put on by Amy Bruni, Adam Barry from Kindred Spirits, Mr. Tenney's part of that too. But it was such a great experience for us together because she's not really into the paranormal that much, and I totally am. And she found so much of interest into it with the psychic gallery readings, John's lecture, Amy Bruni talking about this and that. We heard Greg Lawson talk about falling asleep in Dracula's castle. So just again, like just bringing people into the fold, like having this kind of spark something in their mind, in their imagination, something to take them, out of the Benson Theater and into the library, or in like doing research or really finding out more about this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jamie, going to you, and based on what you do typically this time of year, how business kicks up for you, because let's be honest, every person that's on this call, your season is getting a little bit busier for all the aforementioned reasons that we talked about. What's the scope of what you're hoping to cover at this event?
Well, I mean, I had really just planned on talking about the history of Benson and the kind of nitty gritty of it. And of course, the theater, which I actually have my own personal paranormal experiences from before it was renovated. I'd stayed the night over there. So I was going to talk about some historical kind of ghosts. And then I want to scare people in the theater. Be like, hey, like if you go to the bathroom, take someone with you potentially, or even if they were to see a little curtain sway, totally think that they were having an experience, because I enjoy doing that to people because I think it's very fun to get a little worked up, and it's dark and beautiful and spooky, and they did such an amazing job on the renovation. It feels like you just step back into 1931. It is incredible.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what are the hopes? Are you hoping to make this an annual event, Brian?
Well, that is not like my big long range plan. I just wanted to kind of have this great event. I've got an idea for a trilogy of events. If you're into horror movies, you got to be into the trilogy. So I've got some feelers out. I have a date reserved for next year at the Benson Theater, but it's got to be a little bit kind of different, but accessible for non-enthusiasts as well. I want it to be open to the whole community. You know what I mean? But I got some ideas.
Good. Excited to see how this all fleshes out. Speaking of fleshing things out, let's talk some spooky stuff. No, dude, I wasn't gonna like pull my pants down or anything. Not this time. This isn't that kind of call. But let's talk about what everybody is keeping themselves busy with currently. 2 to 3 minute plug for each one of you. I'll lead off with John Tenney.
Let's see. I've got a weekly podcast called What's Up Weirdo, which is just me talking to my friend Jessica. That keeps me pretty busy. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of conventions now. Obviously, I was talking to you earlier off air about I usually don't do anything in October, and I just said yes to everything this year and overwhelmed myself. But the thing I've been working on for the past couple of years is in Michigan and some of the surrounding states from like 2018 to 2021 mostly. People were seeing these really weird creatures, and I don't know what to call them. I've been calling them formanauts. And when I say weird creatures, I mean like one of the entities that was spotted by multiple people was like a 3-foot by 3-foot box covered in hair that was floating through a neighborhood, and it would move through walls and fences like of houses. And then another one was maybe like a 2.5 foot in diameter triangle that had legs that ran around through a neighborhood, and it looked like it had LED lights on its back. I mean, just like super bizarre. And it all took place over a course of 2 years, but I'm trying to compile that and put that together into some kind of readable format, but it's just truly bizarre. And that's been taking up a lot of my time.
Oh, that's phenomenal. How about you, Johnny Hauser?
Yeah, I mean, I got this coming up, and this is the only thing I booked this year on purpose. I purposely wanted to just kind of take the last couple years, and I've been really delving into the actual true crime accounts of the Ax Murder House, because I studied it for a long time, but there's just so much out there, so many detective notes, so many contradictions in old papers and stuff. And I thought, I just want to really delve into the true history of this. And I've uncovered a ton of stuff that I'm just like, what? Yeah, just craziness. So this is really the only talk I'm doing this year. Just kind of decided to, just enjoy life a little bit and do some research, and then I'll hit it again here next year.
Nice. You kind of make yourself sparse and rare. That makes you far more valuable, sir. You could leverage that.
But then I get all these YouTubers coming to the Axe House that I have no idea who they are, and they end up with like billions of subscribers, and I'm like, oh, those kids were nice. Yep. I had no idea.
How about you, Jamie?
Well, I stay busy all year with ghost tours, but yes, I do more in September and October. I do have a couple of other bigger events like that. Well, this is a big one, but there's a couple of other ones. And nobody on this phone call knows that on October 8th, the Benson Boutique, spelled BOO, is opening right in the heart of Benson, across the street from my house.
Nice. Fantastic.
Oh.
So aside from Benson, is there anything new on your ghost tours this year?
I usually add 1 to 2 a year. Writing a ghost tour is insane. It's hundreds of hours of research and then memorizing all of that stuff. So I tweaked a couple of things. Benson's the big addition this year, along with kind of Hummel Park Revisited, which is a part 2 to my Haunted Hummel hike.
Fantastic. And you, Mr. Brian Corey.
First of all, I just want to state on the record how excited I am for this event, because it's bringing together 3 people that I really... What was that? It's haunted. It's bringing together 3 people that I learn from every time I hear them talk. Jamie does an amazing job. She's a great ambassador to Omaha with with her car. Is that?
I think she's cooking a hot dog in the microwave.
He's a fantastic chef.
I didn't think I am not. I have an alarm beeping at me. I don't know why.
Mike, don't cut this out. Don't get.
I'm not going to.
I'm all freaked out why the security alarm is actually beeping. So.
What I was trying to say is that Jamie's such a great ambassador to Omaha. She had the great HauntedCon conventions here for years, and her tours are spectacular. And her class that she teaches at Metro Community College is super fun. And to have her along with Johnny Hauser, who I totally respect as an investigator and just a decent, honest guy, funny as hell. And John, I got to know you at the Belvoir Winery and for appearing on my show, and to have him come in and do a lecture in Omaha. What a treat. I mean, this is going to be a treat for the people on stage, but I'm just going to be like a fan that night too, listening to these 3 talk. It's going to be great.
Yes, absolutely. And where else but a perfect place to do it other than the newly renovated Benson Theater? This event, Historic Haunted Heartland, Saturday, October 8th, 2022, 7:30 p.m., Benson Theater in Omaha, Nebraska. How can people get tickets?
Oh, my goodness gracious. What you need to do is go to bensontheater.org. Bensontheater.org. And theater is spelled R-E,
Classy.
Or you can... Classy. It's a classy joint. Or you could go to Necronomicast.com. You can buy tickets there, but... Ladies and gentlemen, as I live and breathe, if you're hesitant at all to buy a ticket, they are running out. You got to jump on it. It's going to be a historic night in the Historic Theater, Historic Haunted Heartland.
Boy, that's a lot of H's.
Yeah.
3 of them.
I'm just happy that Brian said that you could go to Necronomicast.com, because that's what I said this week on my podcast.
Oh, did you? Oh, nice.
When you first went to Benson, I was like, oh, I made a mistake. And then you saved it at the last minute.
Oh, man. Well, I tell you what, there is no better way for me to have spent a Monday evening than to hang out with all of you guys. This is a lot of fun. We probably should have been recording the entire time we've been on, because we had quite an endearing conversation about music and the music industry and music venues. but it's the connective tissue that keeps us all together, and I appreciate that. Guys, thank you for doing the podcast. This is going to be kind of a shorter episode, but this is what I wanted to put out there, was to help put over this event because I'm excited for it. You all are fantastic people. 3 of the 4 of you have done my podcast before as solo guests, and we're going to add John Tenney to that list sometime here soon. And I think we're probably going to end up talking both ghosts and music like I did with pretty much everybody else here. So thank you.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know you're wrapping up, but I just want to throw something in here for your fight fans that might listen.
Yes.
As we were speaking, Angie Overkill found pictures of her grandfather and grandmother, Betty and Barney Hill, which she just posted on her Twitter account. For those people who don't know, her grandfather and grandmother were 2 of the most famous UFO abductees in UFO history. So she just posted a photo. If you go to Angie Overkill on Twitter, you can see the picture of Betty and Barney Hill she just found.
Holy shit, I did not know that. That is amazing.
Yep.
That is
I
amazing.
feel like we're right around the anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy. So crazy. But yeah, thank you guys for doing the show. I totally appreciate you guys. I wish I could fucking talk today. I'm just like stumbling over words like none other. But,
you're starstruck, Mike. You're starstruck.
I guess, man. I'm just so excited that my stammer is just kicking up. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate you guys being here.
Jesus Christ.
Right? I know. The world's a better place with you guys in it. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mike.
Big thanks to my friends Brian J. Corey from Necronomicast, Johnny Hauser, John E.L. Tenney, and Jamie Nestroyl. That was a lot of fun. I really wish I would have been recording the whole time. Before we started recording, I think Tenney, Brian, and Johnny and I had about a 25-minute long discussion about playing in rock bands. It was amazing. Check out their event. Check out Necronomicast.com. Check out WeirdLectures.com. Make sure you hit up Jamie for a Midwestern ghost tour or hit up Johnny Hauser for a tour of the Villisca Ax Murder House. While you're checking things out, make sure you give me a follow on all forms of social media and visit www.caughtonthemic.com. This has been Caught on the Mic with Michael Clark. I'm Michael Clark. Until next time, thank you.